Joining us now, House of Delegates member, Republican, Virginia Beach, Jason Miyares. Good to have you with us, Jason.
Hey, thanks for having me, John. Appreciate being back.
Good. We're fired up today. Now, Jason, I got to get your thoughts on this. This is the first chance I've had to cover it. So, Governor of Virginia, Democrat, Terry McGenius. That's our nickname for him, Terry McGenius. Because in many ways, he is a genius. But Terry McGenius, so he cancels his meeting with the Virginia Sheriff's Association. Now, what was this all about? Can you walk us through what happened and what was his thinking?
Well, apparently, the Sheriff's Association has an annual meeting with the governor every year to talk about a variety of different issues, both budgetary and just issues facing their association and sheriffs across Virginia. And as you know, Ed Gillespie has gotten the endorsement of the majority of the sheriffs in Virginia, both for his crackdown on illegal immigration and for gangs. Ed Gillespie has a great plan on the opiate crisis. So majority of sheriffs have endorsed him. Well, apparently that has made the governor upset, and he summarily canceled the meeting. And what's the worst thing is he's not denying it. His office essentially all but confirmed that he canceled this once-a-year meeting with the Virginia sheriffs over politics. And if anybody's observed Governor McAuliffe, one of the most unfortunate byproducts is he's made everything political. The last year it was all about getting Hillary Clinton elected. Obviously that did not work out. Now he has his own eyes of running for the presidency. But everything has been political with him, and it's unfortunate now he's made even law enforcement political, and I'm really stunned that he canceled the meeting.
Jason, I really think this is a major development in this campaign, and I think it is going to roundly backfire on the Democrats. And as astute politically as McAuliffe is, I don't know why he would do this, because it really made no sense. And now it gives us an issue to talk about.
I don't know.
Right? I mean, it made no sense.
They never make a decision in politics when you're angry, and I feel like this was something he made when he was angry or upset, and he didn't have a chance to think about it. I mean, these sheriffs get one. This is not a matter, John, of they get 4 or 5 meetings a year with the governor. They have one meeting an entire 12 months they get with the governor, and he canceled it over politics. Mm-hmm. And if that just should be stunning and outrageous to every single person that's listening to your show right now, that the governor would inject politics into law enforcement.
I mean, that would be like having a governor's association meeting, and you pick any party that has the presidency, and Trump is president, and the Democratic governors don't show up, and then they cancel the whole meeting, and then Trump cancels it. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Sheriffs are duly elected. It's a constitutional office in the Commonwealth. They're duly elected by the people, and they represent every city and every county in Virginia. They're duly elected, and so they have their annual meeting, and McAuliffe cancels the meeting because a higher percentage of them have not backed his candidate for governor, Ralph Northam. Now, how that makes any sense, and the optics of it look horrible, because these are people that we officially elected. And so it's like, I'm not even going to hear what your concerns are. I don't care what's going on in your areas. I'm disinterested because a majority of you didn't back my candidate for governor. So the hell with you. That's the message. The hell with you.
Well, and it's almost exact opposite of Ed Gillespie's slogan of a governor for all Virginians. I mean, Ed Gillespie would never cancel a meeting because somebody has some different political differences with them. In this case, the governor, McAuliffe, canceled a meeting with some of the chief law enforcement officers, and you hit the nail on the head, literally representing every single corner of the Commonwealth, from Accomack to Southwest Virginia to Galax to the Valley to Fairfax. And these are sheriffs that are dealing with some serious issues, gang issues. For the first time in Virginia history, more teenagers last year died from opiate and heroin overdoses than car crashes. We have an opiate crisis in this country, and rather than sitting down and meeting with these chief law enforcement officers representing the entire width and breadth of the Commonwealth, the the governor canceled over politics. I think it was one of the most stunning acts I've ever seen a governor of Virginia do, ever, period.
I can't for the life of me, Jason Miyares, figure out what the governor thought he would get out of this other than negative publicity, hurting his candidate. And he's not typically, I've not found McAuliffe to be vindictive at all. I mean, we don't agree, he and I, on a lot of different things, Trump being one of them, obviously, in this campaign. And, you know, we still maintain a great dialogue with each other on anything, you know, from football to politics. So I've never seen him to be vindictive. And the only thing that I can think of is I think they think they're going to lose this race. That's what I think it is. Because why else would you do this? If you're getting information internally that shows you're in trouble and you just get mad at the sheriffs, then you wouldn't have the meeting, right? If you're way ahead, you just have the meeting. You know, who cares? You're going to win anyway.
I can't speak to that. I mean, I feel like Ed Gillespie has a lot of momentum right now. But don't forget, this is the governor that the General Assembly had been talking about dealing with some type of restoration of rights issues. And he waited literally a week after we left town for veto session, knowing we could not have a reconvened session, where he announced summarily that he was doing a blanket restoration of rights, including for violent felons and violent criminals. And we took him to court, and we won at the Virginia Supreme Court. But rather than what traditionally governors do, they'll go to the General Assembly and they will say, listen, this is a policy idea I have. Let's come up with a possible solution. Can you work on this? Let's have a bill introduced. Greg Abebe, who's a Republican, who had actually introduced a bill for restoration of rights for nonviolent felons previously, was never called, never notified. The governor waited till the General Assembly left town, and then he summarily did this last year, restored rights for convicted felons, many of which were repeat offenders. Individual in West Virginia, 134 individuals that were committed sex offenders, individuals that had never paid their victims back their restitution. He restored their rights, and he didn't work. So sometimes the governor can make maneuvers and decisions that are maybe either his gut is wrong or just purely political, and I think this is an example of that.
Yeah, I think it's a retaliatory move. He doesn't like what the sheriffs have done, and so he cancels the meeting. The optics are horrible, but again, I'm going to get back to this, Jason, because it doesn't match my experiences with the governor. It just doesn't match it. He is not vindictive.
Yeah.
From what I've seen. Now, maybe other people have seen it and they can call me up and say, you know, I've seen these other instances. I haven't seen it.
I don't think he's vindictive. No, I mean, I've interacted with him several times. He seems like generally a gregarious guy. But what I do think is he's very, very political, which should not surprise anyone. He was the former chairman of the Democratic National Committee, and he was chairman of Hillary Clinton's campaign in Virginia. He's very, very political, and maybe he felt like he needed to send a political message to the Virginia sheriffs. I think he doesn't know the character of the Virginia sheriffs. I think it's going to have the opposite effect, and I suspect you'll have even more sheriffs come out and endorse Ed Gillespie as a result of this maneuver on his part.
I think it's going to blow up in his face, but I'm going to get back to this. If you're ahead, right, comfortably, and you're going to run for president, and your candidate is way ahead, and you think you're going to win the state and sweep all offices and things are going well, you would just go ahead and have the meeting. You wouldn't care.
Yeah.
But if you're loosening, Jason Miyares, if you're loosening your collar, if you're going into a meeting and you're looking at internals and you're running for president and you're at risk of losing the state to Ed Gillespie as you try to launch your presidential campaign, and you go into one of those meetings, what are you going to do? You're going to unbutton your collar, take your tie down a little bit, right? And you're going to sweat. That is exactly the scenario. And he got pissed and he started to sweat and he's like, you know what? The hell with these guys. They're hurting me. They're out. That's what happened. Because if he was ahead, if they were getting internals that's saying this race was over, Northam's going to win by 12, 10, 8, 7, he has the meeting. I think that they're in trouble. They're going to lose. They're mad. And so he reacted to it. That's what I think happened. Do you think I'm right?
I I think that's that's pretty plausible. I do think you hit the nail on the head in your analysis in the sense that I think everything this year is about Terry McAuliffe running for president in 2020.
Right.
Getting Northam elected is about helping him run for president in 2020. Every single bill that he signed or vetoed this past year, his entire public schedule, I think, is about him running for president. And I think his calculus probably is, I canceled this meeting. The sheriffs are going to realize I mean business, don't endorse Ed Gillespie. But I think, like I said, it's going to have the opposite effect. I think you're going to have more of them because nobody likes being pushed around and nobody likes to be bullied. And for the life of me, if you made a decision out of anger, never make a decision in government if you're angry. It's going to backfire on you.
Yeah, it's like never send an email when you're angry either, or a tweet. Just think about it, get a good night's sleep before you hit the send button, because you might get up the following day and say, well, that was dumb, I'm not going to send that. Now, Jason, we understand you're running, of course, for re-election on November 7th. You have a Democratic opponent. Why should your district re-elect Jason Miyares?
Well, I'm a big believer in bringing common sense solutions to Richmond. And so, one, I focused on both regulatory reform, lifting the regulatory burden on our small business owners. I focused on both investing in K-12 back home in Virginia Beach, but also I pushed forth a bill that would allow kids trapped in failing schools and K-12 schools where over 50% are classified as Title I. These are the Portsmouth and the Petersburg school districts that make it easier for charter schools to apply and have their application reviewed. I think your zip code should not determine the quality of your education. I have really tackled the issue of recurrent flooding and hurricane preparedness. That's such a huge area in my area in Virginia Beach. I introduced legislation that would really make Virginia a model with my Hurricane and Flooding Protection Act that would make us a non-federal sponsor of hurricane and flooding protection projects, that we could work directly with the Army Corps of Engineers. And so I'm passionate about making the best environment to live, to create jobs. My mission statement on my office is to make Virginia Beach the best place in America to live, work, start a business, expand an existing one, and raise a family. And that's my mindset every day when I'm in the General Assembly and how I tackle my job. And hope the voters will want to have another 2 years of me on November 7th.
All right, Jason Miyares, people want more information on your campaign for re-election and what you've done. Jason, where do they go?
They can go to my website, jasonmiyares.com. That's Jason, Jason, Miyares, Miyares.com.
All right, pretty easy to do, jasonmiyares.com. Jason, thanks for that update. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.